Hey everybody, this is Petey from the Spinner Rack, and we also have
Calvin Ellis ready to rock.
today we are going to continue our discussion on Ant-Man. Let's do a quick thing of saying, what did you think of Ant-Man?
I liked it, but I like the first and second Ant Man. So I'm a fan of this particular character and the stuff that they can do with it. Overall, I overall I thought it was enjoyable film. This is not an Oscar-winning film by any stretch of the imagination, but I got what I was coming for, and I liked the presentation of Kang. That okay, this guy could come across as a suitable threat that they're trying to build him up to be. Because I did not like how he was. What we were given in Loki, I didn't even know that was Kang. So this right over here, definitely recognizable and executed to the point where I was like, oh yeah, I could see this guy putting the people through paces, especially these Avengers who he's going to be going after, who have not proven themselves at all.
So one of the big stories, they're just comparing the the opening weekend box office, and for the opening weekend, it's like over a hundred million, but that's under the 140 that Thor did, and far under what the opening of the Black Panther. Obviously, we can't compare it to Spider-Man because Spider-Man killed. So, but they it seemed like they put a lot of thing in the launch into this next phase, being the while we're looking at the other side of it, while a lot of people look at it, this is the launch of the phase 5 stuff, and for a looking at it as a Marvel property, which ultimately I only look at that in comparison to what I felt the money and the time was put into the Black Panther. But this was their launch, and that's what getting people to say maybe maybe the Marvel stuff is not, this last phase is kind of wary. Maybe the soup has gotten a little thin, but they're saying that for the phase 5 sort of launch, this is kind of lower for it. But ultimately, you can say it's doing better than the other two Ant-Man, so who knows? It's a
Um,
thing.
I don't know. I don't know. I guess it's sort of like this economy where you have high inflation, low unemployment. It's like you look at one side, it's like, but these are the best numbers that we've had in 50 years, and then you look at the other side, and you're like, why do eggs cost $10? Why am
Mhm.
I paying this much money for eggs? But I don't. I really don't know what I don't know what to say to that. On one hand, the film is doing better. It's on pace to do better than the previous films, which is really what it should be based on. So it's not losing any traction with its audiences, and yet somehow it's being treated like as a summer tentpole film. That this is supposed to be the film that brings that brings in the rest of the rest of the or phase 5 and such. And if that's the case, the best you could do is judge it to any of the films that started off any of those particular phases and see how it's doing in comparison to that. And I believe it's probably doing better than any of those films that had to start off phase 1, 2, or 3 for that matter. So, I'm not. The criticism is just for me is just all over the place, and at least if that's the criticism, because then it sets up like, look, it's almost like, hey, look, unless every Marvel movie makes $1 billion, it's a failure. I can't go that. I wouldn't go that route with any of these particular films. I'm looking at the numbers that it did. I was like, this is better than it did any of the first two movies. You still got a bunch of room and time to go with this. You're gonna have another, a lot of the Marvel releases are finally gonna get the China release. So this is probably gonna top whatever it did before.
No,
Not sure exactly what people want other than to just kick the movie.
it's not going to do anything in China. They already let it out, and they already
It
got an Ant-Man ride. It's not gonna do. They said the numbers there are pretty bad.
oh okay. I didn't realize it was out in China over there.
Yeah, that was the first thing that people were saying. Whereas I think, what was it? One of the other movies that was before this. I'm not sure. I don't think it's Black Panther, but another one of them that they decided not to release in China yet. They don't have any numbers, but yeah, I think they was when the first thing when I saw it, they were talking about it, and they were saying that they already released it. They have some Ant Man ride out there, and it didn't do much. But the thing of it is,
There was
the
an
hard
Ant Man
part is,
riot.
hmm?
the people hated the film so much they rioted.
A ride. They have an amusement ride for Ant-Man. Something
Oh,
like
okay.
that's for if you didn't connect to it, they had something you could connect to. And well, that's the thing. Ultimately, there's a thing. There's a thing. Who's that guy? This rapper named Cadillac Ta, and they were asking him, "Hey, 50 and this they did these diamond numbers, and now not so much." And saying, is that a loss? Or is it a loss, or you're going back to your sustainable level? Is the $1 billion thing that sort of thing? Did Thor fail? That sort of things we have to ask. So this is saying this is it actual failure or getting back to what the numbers are? Or the hard part, the third thing could be is since Doctor Strange is almost at where is that thing? It's almost at a is that at a billion? It's not a billion yet, but it's close. Like,
Yeah, what was it like 950? It was like at 955 or something
yeah, that's
before
on.
before.
You go before.
No, was it like 955 before? I don't know if it's getting a China release, but I thought it was at like 955 and might go a billion with it once if it gets released there.
Yeah, so that you have something like that, and the bigger difference is having other Marvel superheroes in there outside of having the heroes in the group, like having sort of Mr. Fantastic, Scarlet Witch, and other characters, Black Bolt, Professor Xavier. In my mind, that's the only thing that could be to really push this over the fact that this is doing. I guess Black Panther's numbers are still coming in, so it's still doing better, early, quicker than Black Panther. But Black Panther's still got some numbers coming in. So now people are where they were tearing down Black Panther, at the same time they're like, well, for the climate, this not in too much. It did okay. It's less than what it was before, but so it's one of those things where Doctor Strange is one where it's like it's well overperformed the last time that the first movie, but it's really connected. It's like heavily connected to. I think one of the few that was really like really, I mean, the same way Spider-Man was. Spider-Man had Iron Man all too. So I was about to say something, but the No Way Home, the Far From Home was like Iron Man was just stamped like a like all over. Here's another Tony Stark picture. So, but I mean, this thing will the sort of the numbers turn the people like the Pied Piper, where you say, hey, people aren't watching it, and most mainly that usually affects DC more than Marvel, which has always been the case in the comics and now the movies, where people get their dry rot from the movies, but they do it to the other company, not to I mean, like, obviously, Star Wars has been up and down, but they're finding their way on television. And now DC has their record lows for stuff that shouldn't be low like that, and they're expecting Shazam 2 to be low also. It's like, what, now we're going to surprise Aquaman will be low also. It's like, I'm just that's a projection. I don't know, but people had made a projection about Shazam, the what's it, Fury of the Gods being lower. It's like you got a bunch of people in there, you got some action, you got monsters. Just on
Lower
movie
than
alone, shouldn't it do better? Like, why is it the prediction of it being,
lower than what? The
well,
first Shazam movie did 325, 350 million. So lower than what? Lower than it's. I'm trying to understand what
Black
is it that
Adam
these guys are
number?
talking about.
Hard part would be if it gets Black Adam numbers, there's a fix in. Because I like to count the number of theaters this thing is in, because it's like I can't
Lower,
understand
like,
the
yeah,
Black Adam.
lower than that's for me. I'm like lower than what?
Yeah, Black Adam is the almost 4 million, 400 million, and then Shazam. You already said it, but let me just look at it too. Ooh, good lord, yeah, you were right. Oh my goodness.
Budget was what? It was like $100 million budget. I think it would gross like 300, 325, 350. Don't remember exactly. So
Yeah,
when these
yeah.
guys are like, they're like, well, this is gonna be low. I'm like, well, lower than what? It's what do you, it's gonna bomb at the end of the day. You got too many. You got too many. You have too many Braves, not enough Chiefs. You have too many cooks, not enough chefs. Everybody's got an opinion, and it's all over the place. It's all over the place in terms of people who can definitively analyze and say something, as opposed to just review bombing on on Rotten Tomatoes, or putting up a number so high that it's irrefutable that the movie is a success. If the whole idea was that Ant-Man needed to be like a hit, not come out, make money, and do what a film should do, make suitable money, that sort of thing, be entertaining, get good, but no, be a hit where people are like fighting, hand over fist to go and see it, and it's like getting two and three, four. Not every well, we already know not every film is going to do that. Number one, and that was that the expectation for this particular film? So again, but they open up the floodgates to that by listening and letting people come in, and everybody's opinion matters as some sort of expert, and then you get a groundswell. I mean, I saw this happen with Superman Returns, where the numbers on the movie and the reviews on the movie would have thought this was a good movie, people liked it, people enjoyed it, would see some more, and then the online stuff was like this was the worst movie ever, it was terrible. But that was what snowballed. That's what snowballed, because the reviewers write one film, the reviewers write one review, okay, and everybody other cats, they can just bomb on it as much as they want to.
Well, I guess. Well, no, it's not. It's not in the last year, but I guess the big. We had the. I guess Steven Spielberg said, which saved it, which was Top Gun with their numbers. But I think the whole counting out of the theaters, we had to figure a new way through this, because it's really kind of hard to understand. Like we understand the No Way Home, why it made so much money. Top Gun, I don't know why it made so much money, but it did. It made a ton of money, but then it's like you can't always
Tom Cruise.
expect to get to that billion or the 2 billion.
It was pretty simple. Tom Cruise? Tom Cruise movie. It was simple enough. It was a simple enough plot. It was just. I think the simplicity of that movie is probably something that people could just get into, as opposed to something that it was. It might have been different than the whole bunch of the other fare at the end of the day. But it was just a simple film about, look, this kid's over here trying to live up to the legend of his father. Other guys coming out of retirement. It's same storyline we've already seen, executed, pretty well. Yeah, people like it. It was, to be honest, it was just a simple movie that you could get into, where you have a whole bunch of this other stuff now, where it's like, well, I like this, but you got this right over here, or we got to force feed some of this stuff over here to make sure we check all these boxes. Didn't happen. It was just, look, there's a mission. We accomplished the mission.
Well, I mean, the only thing I would say different from that is that I mean, for Tom Cruise, we have the mission movies that hadn't gotten to the billion yet, and he got to the billion with the sequel, and people. I mean, I guess this in Hollywood they're going to be looking around to figure out what sequels from 30 years ago they can put back together. What do we got?
Well, that's
Just
what,
have
yeah,
the
that's what they always do.
McQuarrie guy rewrite it, and we'll get something going. It's like this. The sequels are hot. Look at that. Look at the numbers. Look at that on the top 30 years ago sequel. Anything we can find, bring it. Let's put it out. But going back to Ant Man. Obviously, if you're gonna say you're gonna go to the launch of Phase 5, you'd won 1 billion, and I think it felt like they put some money into it, even though there's some arguments about, oh, why does this look so dark here? What happened with there's the greed of Marvel, and it's just like some point, yeah, I'm not gonna freeze framing and watching it. If I can watch it and I'm not bothered, then I'm okay. If I'm watching Black Panther, and I'm like, these scenes are dull. I'm going to be just underwater scenes, because there's so much more could be done with that. And when you see Avatar and you think about back to the Black Panther, you're like, what did they? Why would they even go to the water? If you can't do, at least one good scene like Avatar, then you might as well give it up. Just have them come out the water and fight. But yeah, any other words on that? On the what's
Uh,
the name on the sale, the amount that Ant Man did?
we're in like a reverse because it used to be these films would get all this money and they would bomb. They would get 100 million, 200 million to make a movie, and they couldn't make any money. Now you got films getting 100, 200 million to make, a movie, tripling their budgets, and people still looking at it's not successful. So, what can I say? It reminds me. It's just like for me. It just reminds me of the economy. It's like you have what should be a good indicator of success, and now success has turned. You got to be able to. You have to be able to recognize success when it's actually there, as opposed to it, we want success that is criticism proof. So if I make 2 billion every film, what can you say? I'm making all this money, so that's pretty much the end of it. And it just I don't know. A lot of it just seems like trolling at the end of the day. But people like to troll.
Okay, so hey, we saw it, we reviewed it, we all said it was okay. Definitely big fan of Michelle Pfeiffer and obviously the new Jonathan Peters, even though we're not co-signing that the magazine he was in. Sorry, I had to say it. We're not co-signing none of that. But anyway, yeah, let's see, let's not, if as far as what the movie did is doing better than what it did before, you know, let's lead up to more bigger things coming next. Or well, I don't want to go too big, but they're leading to it with all this having 4 or 5. They already had 3 million Ant-Mans in the movie. How do you top that? But guess that's about it. Spinner rack.
Out.